You are walking through a crowded street. Someone collapses 10 feet away from you. You look up. So does everyone else. Nobody moves. For a long, strange second, you wait to see what other people will do before you decide what you will do. This is not weakness. This is not selfishness. It is one of the strangest wiring flaws in the human brain, and it has almost nothing to do with how much you care. Psychologists call it the bystander effect. Once you understand it, you will never watch a crowd the same way again. In March of 1964, a young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in New York City. Newspaper reports claimed dozens of neighbors heard her cries and did nothing. The story shocked the country. But two psychologists were not satisfied with that explanation. Their names were John Darley and Bib Latane, and what they discovered would reshape how you understand your own behavior in a crisis. They built an experiment. A participant sat alone, speaking through an intercom with people they believed were other participants. In reality, the voices were recordings. Partway through, one voice began choking, stammering, calling for help. Then it went silent. When participants believed they were the only one who could hear the emergency, almost all of them rushed to help. But when they believed 4 or 5 others were also listening, the numbers collapsed. Fewer than a third responded in time. Same emergency. Same fear in your chest. Different outcome, depending on one invisible variable. How many other people you believed were also listening? Why would knowing others can help make you less likely to help? Darley and Latane called it diffusion of responsibility. Alone, the full weight of the moment lands on you, but the instant you believe others are present, that weight quietly splits. Your brain assumes someone else has probably already acted. You are no longer fully responsible, and partial responsibility feels a lot like no responsibility at all. There is a second force at work, sneakier still. Psychologists call it pluralistic ignorance. You glance around at the crowd. Everyone looks calm, so you assume this must not be a real emergency. But everyone around you is having that exact same thought, for the exact same reason. A room full of people quietly waiting for someone else to move first is not a room that does not care. It is a room trapped in the same mirror. Decades later, researchers wondered if the effect still held up in the real world, outside the laboratory. In 2011, a psychologist named Peter Fisher led a large review of real recorded incidents, fights, medical emergencies, accidents caught on security footage. His conclusion confirmed the old pattern. As the number of bystanders grows, the odds that any single person intervenes tend to shrink. But Fisher found something else too. In the most dangerous, unmistakably violent emergencies, the freeze sometimes weakened. People broke through and acted, even in a crowd. It was the smaller, more ambiguous emergencies, the ones that might not be real emergencies at all, where the freeze took hold hardest. Ambiguity, it turns out, is the real enemy, not crowds themselves. Think about what that means for your own life. You do not need a stadium of witnesses to trigger this. You only need enough uncertainty to give your brain permission to hesitate. Is that person actually in trouble, or just tired? Is that argument next door dangerous, or just loud? Every hesitation is the same ancient mechanism, quietly asking whether someone else will handle it first. Your ancestors likely lived in small bands of 30 to 50 people, where everyone knew everyone. There was no crowd to hide inside. If something happened, everyone would know exactly who helped and who did not. Responsibility had nowhere to diffuse. Cities, strangers, crowds of thousands passing without ever learning a name. This is new. Your brain has not caught up. The freeze you feel is not a personal failure. It is a small group brain, dropped into a world of endless strangers, trying to calculate responsibility in a crowd size it was never built to read. Knowing this changes something important. Darley and Latane found that simply teaching people about the bystander effect made them more likely to act later when a real emergency appeared. Understanding the mechanism is often enough to interrupt it. There is a simple trick that fights diffusion of responsibility at its root. If you ever need help in a crowd, do not shout for anyone. Choose one person, point at them directly. Describe exactly what you need. Responsibility can no longer spread across a crowd. It lands, fully, on one named person. And if you are the one standing in the crowd, uncertain, waiting for a signal from everyone else's face, you can choose to be the first signal instead. Someone has to move first before everyone else feels permitted to move too. You will likely find yourself in that crowded street again someday. Someone will need something. You will feel that same old invisible calculation begin to run, asking whether this is really your responsibility or someone else's. But now you know what that feeling actually is. Not proof there is nothing wrong, just old software, built for a much smaller world, quietly miscounting the room. The choice of what to do next was always yours. It always is.